Welcome back to West Virginia Gun Law. I'm Attorney Todd Linney. Today I want to follow up on West Virginia's Senate Bill 1071, the machine gun bill, that's had a lot of publicity throughout social media over the last month or so, and kind of bring you up to speed on where it is, why it has died in the West Virginia Legislature, and talk about what the future of this bill may look like going forward. Stick around. Senate Bill 1071 was introduced in this year's session of the West Virginia Legislature. 1071 was referred to as the Public Defense and Provisioning Act, which essentially related to creating a mechanism whereby the state of West Virginia could sell machine guns to properly, lawfully qualified citizens, residents of the state, under what is believed to have been a carve-out under both the NFA and GCA and the way those were incorporated into United States Code. Now, it's an interesting and very novel approach on this topic, and one that I think potentially has some merit to it, but it's not going to come without challenge if we do eventually manage to get this bill passed. Now, the relevant section of U.S. Code that we need to take a look at here to understand why the bill was introduced is 18 U.S. Code, section 922.02a. Except as provided in paragraph 2, it shall be unlawful for any person to transfer or possess a machine gun. This subsection does not apply with respect to a transfer to or by or possession by or under the authority of the United States or any department or agency thereof, or a state or a department, agency, or political subdivision thereof. So you can see that the section that's being relied on for this bill is the provision that says that it's unlawful to possess a machine gun or to transfer a machine gun unless it's done by a state or a subdivision thereof. And so this language, if you take it at face value, would seem to suggest that a state may transfer machine guns to an individual, and that individual may then lawfully possess that machine gun. So this bill was originally thought up through Gun Owners of America, and they contacted Senator Chris Rose here in West Virginia. He's out of the Morgantown area, and Senator Rose introduced that bill as the lead sponsor. The problem, I think, with the bill was, again, that it was introduced very late in the session. Our session is a 60-day session, approximately 8 weeks, and the bill wasn't introduced till around 5.5 weeks. Didn't leave it much time to be able to go through the processes that are required with legislation: committee referrals, debate, discussion, research, votes. And so I think that they kind of hamstrung themselves by waiting so late to introduce it. And hopefully if it gets reintroduced next year, which I expect that it will, it gets introduced on day one so there's enough time. But this bill, like any new bill that goes through the legislative process, had to go through a number of procedural steps to get to the point of a vote. And one of the problems that we ran into here was that as the bill was voted on in the Senate Judiciary Committee and apparently passed in the Judiciary Committee, it was never reported out. And as of today, Friday the 13th of March, it still shows as sitting in committee. Now, typical procedures that when a bill is passed, it's referred out, reported out of committee, and in this case, it had a second referral to the Senate Finance Committee. So it would have had to go through an additional set of reviews and a vote before it went to the full floor of the Senate for a vote there, and then if it passed the full floor vote, it would be transferred to the House of Delegates, where it would go through the same exact process again. And what has come to light since the video last week is that Senate President Randy Smith effectively killed the process. Senator Smith gave a number of statements in the media, and I'll throw up on the screen here a statement that was attributed to him on the West Virginia Metro News website. In recent days, there has been a lot of discussion regarding the fate of Senate Bill 1071. the Creating Public Defense and Provisioning Act, also known as the Machine Gun Bill. This bill, which was introduced in the Senate on the last possible day Senate bills could be introduced, was a poorly drafted piece of legislation provided by a gun rights group who, to my knowledge, had never been active in the West Virginia legislature prior to this bill. After consultation with several attorneys and with membership of West Virginia's two leading and long-standing gun rights groups, the National Rifle Association and the West Virginia Citizens Defense League, I was convinced this bill, as it was submitted to us, would be unable to pass the House of Delegates and would face numerous legal challenges to its implementation upon passage. So this bill was pushed by Gun Owners of America, and in fact they worked with the law firm of a good colleague of mine in another state to draft the language of this bill. I know my colleague, I know his firm, I know the quality of the work that they do, and so it immediately raises a question in my mind when Senator Smith says that it was poorly drafted legislation. Again, I know the guys who wrote it, and they're very good, very successful Second Amendment attorneys who have won a lot of big cases, who've participated in a lot of issues that have made it to the U.S. Supreme Court. They're good lawyers. And so, again, I question the position that this bill was poorly drafted, but I don't know what it was exactly that Senator Smith saw that may have created those thoughts in his mind, and certainly I'm not in a position to second guess the man. I just know that the people who did this work are solid attorneys who know what they're doing. Now, this bill went through a lot of back and forth, and again, we talked about that some in the video with Washington Gun Law last week, but there was definitely some political maneuvering that happened with this for reasons that I can't truly understand. I know that there is a lot of stuff in social media indicating that Gun Owners of America and the West Virginia Citizens Defense League have been going back and forth as to their respective positions on the bill, with GOA pointing fingers at WVCDL and saying one of their lobbyists was the reason that this bill was killed. I know the leadership of West Virginia Citizens Defense League, and I know that they are all obviously very pro-Second Amendment people. I know that while they did not take a position on this particular bill this year, that none of them oppose the idea of citizens being able to own machine guns. So to me, it's a little disingenuous to think that the West Virginia Citizens Defense League would have had something to do with trying to quietly kill this bill in the background. But for whatever reason, GOA is saying that's what happened. I know that the people of Citizens Defense League are denying that, and there may just be some misunderstanding on the way things were coming together, that maybe there wasn't clear communication, maybe the fact that WVCDL didn't take a specific position is something that GOA is misreading as opposition. I don't know, and probably, folks, the reality is that none of us are ever going to know the full truth as to what happened behind the scenes here, such is the nature of politics. What I can tell you, though, is this. This is a good bill, it's an interesting concept, and I think it's one that is absolutely worth testing within the state legislature and likely in the courts after it might pass one of these days. I think it's likely the bill will be reintroduced in 2027, and I would encourage every one of you to reach out to your elected representatives and let them know that you support the bill, you support this idea. It has a tremendous potential to have a good impact on the state's budget, being able to fulfill some shortfalls that we may have in other areas. Bottom line is there's just no way that it hurts the state of West Virginia. However, it's going to require the people letting their representatives know they support it in order to have a good chance to pass. And again, we have a solid enough legislature that is generally pro-Second Amendment, and I think that it will have a decent shot at passing if it comes back next year. But the bottom line is, for 2026, Senate Bill 1071 is effectively dead, and unfortunately, we don't get to have machine guns this year, but I think there is a good chance it comes back. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on this in the section below. Please feel free to drop a comment. If you haven't done so yet, please, would love to have you subscribe to the channel. I'd like to welcome all of our new subscribers, and thank you guys for jumping on the train here with us. Share this video, hit that like button, and if you have questions, of course, you can always reach out to us directly through the info in the description. Ask questions, and I try to get to all the comments that I can, and I'll be happy to do anything I can to address those if you have anything. Thanks for spending time with me today. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care and stay safe.